Hey everyone, Nico Play Nick here, and today we're going to talk about my top 5 underrated units that I think are very good in the current meta. Okay, so let's get into it here. So the first unit I want to talk about right off the bat, maybe the more popular-ish one of my top 5 underrated units, is Kali. I see it a little bit in high elo play. I'm not seeing it so much in the lower elos, which is very funny to me. And in my opinion, Kali is probably the number one underrated unit on my top 5 list. I'm going to say right off the bat. I think she is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, single target backline DPS you can have. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about the Coom slot, the Lapis slot, and the Jean slot. You know, people running those units in the last slot and like 1v3ing your team, 1v2ing your team, whatever it may be. That slot that's really OP for Lapis is at the end where you get a card a lot. I think Kali is a contender for that slot, and hear me out. You can even put her on the second to last slot, and that's perfectly acceptable. She counters Coom extremely well. Okay, Kali has one of the highest base attack stats in the game. Okay, and she ignores defense, and she applies unrecoverable, which is ridiculous. Units trying to defense up, doesn't matter, goes right through that. Coom trying to heal, doesn't matter, unrecoverable. Jean trying to heal, doesn't matter, unrecoverable. So she shreds these units, countering with her to Coom. Coom can't sustain, and you win the trade. Not as much so with the Lapis. I'd say that one's a little harder. But based on how high the damage that Kali does, especially if you use this one to get the increased 20%, which I don't have at the moment, if you have that rune, it's big damage. You're going to shred through that shield, especially if it's a one-on-one. Lapis is not getting enough of a shield for her to really take all the damage. So you can win the trade one-on-one. I have won the trade one-on-one with Lapises before with a Kali. So just keep this in mind. This is a very strong unit, and it's a very good counter to the current metagame at the moment of all these Cooms, Jeans, Lapises currently going in the back line. So I would urge you to give it a shot. If you have a good leveled Kali and ranked, use it. You know, give it a try. Whether it's the last slot or second to last slot, definitely one of those top contenders I think more people should be using in the current meta. Super quick. Let's just run through what kind of runes I use. I just go straight attack runes. Let's keep it simple. We want Kali to do what Kali is best at, doing that damage. So we're going to put attack. We're going to give her as much damage as possible. And that's pretty much all you need to know because she ignores defense. So we just want to pretty much just accelerate that. So awesome. Let's go with the second unit. Now the second unit is probably out of my top 5, the weakest one of the top 5, but I still think is undervalued. Let me find where he is. Whoops, not Beretta, Vertihill. Okay. So Vertihill is not used much. I've recently done some testing, and I've had some guildmates, I've recommended them doing some testing in their elo to use Vertihill, and they have seen some success with it. Is it an answer to everything in the current meta? No. I don't think it's the end all be all. I think in my tier list that's going to be coming out shortly around the same time as this video. He's around an A rank with his best rune. Definitely not an S tier unit, but definitely has its place in the current metagame. If you're facing a lot of AoE teams, you know, maybe I'd say even some AoE dots, you know, AoE jokers and things like that, Vertihill is a great choice to counter. He applies Blood Ring on the first unit in the front, whoever's the unit in the front, and every time you're attacking that unit, you're gaining health back for those attacks, which is really nice. So recover the HP of the attacker by 50% of the damage dealt. So whether you're doing a single target, skill, or just auto attacks. And it might not sound like a lot with the auto attacks, but it adds up. I was having my Joker heal with one Blood Ring. Like, he could easily heal almost to 1,000 HP off that Blood Ring off of autos. Autos add up. So definitely a good skill. And it's not really worth cleansing. If you have other things that need to be cleansed, people are not going to use their Eleanor, their spells, They're transferred to get rid of a blood ring. Like, it's not threatening enough. You don't feel the threat as an opponent to make it worthwhile to cleanse it. So a lot of players will just let it go through, and you'll fully benefit from it because not a lot of people use Vertihill, and it's such a slow gain over time that it's not like an instant heal. You don't notice it, but it does add up if you get 1 or 2 or even 3 blood rings off in a whole match. That health that you got back negates some of the AoE that they're doing to you, to your whole team. So definitely a unit I think people should be looking at. Definitely a unit that offers a lot. Especially if you're against a lot of these AoE comps. Against single targets, not that great, but still, I think a unit to look at if you're needing that sustain, but you also want maybe a little more single target damage. Vertihill allows for that single target damage and allows your team to heal off of it. So it's kind of like an aggressive healer in a way, and can really kind of be flexible to certain comps that may need it. Or if he happens to be one of your higher level unit, just know you can use him. He does have his place. You can build some teams around him, and he'll definitely bring value to your team in ranks. So definitely a unit. Keep an eye out for him. Maybe try him out. Even try him out in arena maybe, where all the levels are balanced. Okay, so the next unit we're going to have, we have 3 more units to go to. We're going to have one of them is a support, and another one's a tank, and the other one I think is considered a DPS. So right over here we have Prelia. What is Prelia considered, actually? I'm kind of curious. Is she considered a support? Oh, she's considered an attack. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Prelia. Popular? I wouldn't say popular. We're starting to see more play in high elo currently in the top 100 of Prelia right now. And in case some of you may not know, I'm in the top 100. I'm a top 100 player. I'm currently rank 46 right now. Just so you kind of know what I'm kind of playing against. And I'm starting to see Prelias have some play. Definitely I'm not seeing it much in lower elo. Whenever I'm watching guildmates play, you know, and I have alt accounts to try some lower elo, I'm not seeing it a lot. And it's really too bad because it's such a cheap unit that brings so much to your team. And especially in a meta where Lapis is so popular of a unit and so strong of a unit, they just go so well together. You know, this unit doesn't go well with something like Joker, but definitely goes well with something like Lapis, you know. So she attacks the whole front line. If you've gotten through the front line, then she'll attack the whole back line. Does defense damage for level 10, 292. That's actually really not bad for an AoE. That's really solid damage, and applies defense down 2. So for 3 cost, AoE, solid damage, and defense down 2, that's pretty big. You chain that into a Lapis that's going to hit them all. That's going to be huge. That's going to be like some really big damage that's going to happen. You're going to start shredding teams, whether you chain that into a Lapis, you chain that into Rakan, or you change that into like another kind of AoE hitter. Any of your AoEs, Poseidon, who hits like just okay, will start hitting a little bit more, and you're going to shred that front line faster, and you're going to get to the back line faster with more units up, which is huge. It gives you more times to deal with threats like Lapis, Koom, and Jean without your back line getting destroyed. So definitely a good option. This doesn't go well with dot comps because dots don't benefit from defense down. They're based off percent health, so don't worry about it with that. But there's definitely a place for her in the meta. There's definitely comps that can utilize her really, really well. And comps that utilize Prelia really utilize Prelia. Like, she can be very, very devastating. And I fought some good comps with it, and it was scary. They're usually cheaper cost comps, more aggro, very fast-paced kind of comps. So if you're putting a lot of like high cost cards, that's maybe not the play, but definitely in low mana cost teams that are very aggro, she's going to fit perfectly in there if you need that defense down. And especially as more units start coming out, we're getting more of those like half-line AoE units. She's going to get more and more popular. So definitely another one of those units. You guys should take a look. You guys should try her out. If you haven't, give it a shot. She's a fantastic unit. Some of my buddies have been recommending it to them in their arena comps, and they've been seeing tremendous success with it, clearing their 10-0 to get those pulls in arena. So definitely a great unit. I encourage you all to test out. And her gems, again, you know, the Blade Wind stuns target at 30% chance, amazing. If you get this, she becomes even better because now you're applying stuns as well as defense down, which can be used to interrupt front lines. Like, that's huge. That's amazing. For 3 mana cost, that is some value right there. That is a really, really good value. So the next one we're going to look at is Megan. Okay, so Megan, I'd say Megan is kind of popular, top 100. Definitely, I'm not seeing it a lot in lower ELOs. I'm very surprised about this. A lot of people are opting for Bernard over Megan, which I understand. You get the double acceleration, which is really big for 2 costs. Like, again, fantastic value. I love Bernard. I think he's an amazing unit, an S tier unit. But Megan is really good. Megan should be used a lot more, especially with teams that utilize stuff like Prelia, like I just talked about, uses stuff like potentially teams like Joker, Tessarian. Things that are not dot based can really benefit from Megan. She's a 3 mana cost. She gives you acceleration 1, which is not bad. Helps you gain a little advantage early. You can put swiftness on her to make her first utilization a 2 cost, which is dope. And as well, she gives attack up 2, which is fantastic for stuff like Tessarians and Jokers. You can really hit hard, surprisingly hard with that. So she's a very, very useful unit, very versatile. Whether it's damage buffing or accelerating, can pair very, very well. You pair that with a Poseidon who decelerates them by 2 and you accelerate yourself by 1, you have a difference of 3, which is really big mana. A really big mana difference you're creating just with her. You don't always need the Bernard. And that attack up 2 is going to come back in value with the units you have on your team, especially with just the autos alone. So definitely a unit people should be looking at. She's cheap, she's a rare, she's easy to build, and most people are going to have her as free to play. Fantastic units, you know, and most of these units that we've looked at, none of these units we're looking at are legendaries, and they're really, really good units. I think the only purples we have are Vertihill. That's it. Actually, the only purple on my list is Vertihill. So, like, most of these units, people should have access to, hopefully have leveled if they got lucky enough. So, yeah. So, I think she's definitely a great option. She has some very interesting stuff. If you're lucky and you get this... if you're lucky and you get the purple one is out of this world amazing. You start with 2 mana. It's ridiculous. It's nutty. Like, it's such a good one. The gold one, if I'm not saying, is pretty good. When an enemy gets beneficial fight, immediately remove the benefit. Yeah, you see, this is really good. This is really, really sick as well. They're both, her 2 skills here are ridiculously OP. If you get the purple one, that's a gigantic lead right there. So definitely use her, try her out in your comps. Definitely you're going to see some help there. And the last unit we're going to talk about, this one I'm not so sure. I'm not seeing a lot. Maybe it's popular, but I'm really not seeing them a lot. So that's Ramagos. I'm seeing a lot of Pernas. I'm seeing a lot of Rakans in frontline tank positions. I'm seeing Jean sometimes, though she's shifting more to a backline DPS and interrupter. But Ramagos, damn, he is a good unit. He is, I think he has, if I'm not mistaken, from all the numbers I've looked at, he has the largest health pool of any unit in the game. He has the largest health pool, if I'm not mistaken. Please somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure from the numbers I've looked at, he has the highest health pool. He doesn't have the highest defense. I think that's the Ice Golem. But he has the highest health. He can tank a lot of damage. He's a 4 cost. I don't always use his skill in matches, but his skill is very versatile. What I like about this unit is that he can do 2 things. If I'm against a single target focused comp, he hurts single target comps, because if I time my ability well and counter with it, I can kill a unit because he does more damage based on how low his HP is. He'll heal himself again, and it'll make it harder for them to get rid of my bear. And if they have an AoE team and they're not focusing down my front line, then I don't use his skill, and he's just an amazing meat shield. He takes so much damage, like he can tank so much. He's just a fantastic meat shield to just throw in there. So whether you need him to survive against single target teams, or he's just there because they have an AoE or dot team, he brings value. He has very good versatility in a team, and how to kind of adjust to what you have to play against. I personally think he's probably one of the best slot 1 tanks in the game. There are other really good options. Again, Perna is a fantastic option. I think Rakan, I'm not a big fan of Rakan. You'll see in the tier list that I released, but you know, he's a pretty decent meat shield. I wouldn't use his ability much, but his, you know, good meat shield. But Perna is amazing for a slot 1 tank. But I think Ramagos is really solid as well for a slot 1 tank. Definitely, again, if you're free to play, start using Ramagos. It's a fantastic unit, a lot of versatility. His abilities are all good, whether it's doing more damage, the defense up 3 is nice, and the 50% extra recovery is really good too. All his skill gems are solid. Whichever one you pull, there's not really a bad skill gem. So definitely I put energy runes on him, get that more HP. So definitely a unit I would urge you guys to look into for a frontline tank. And funny enough, these are all units that I use on my main team. Actually, every single one of these units that I've mentioned, except for Prelia and Vertihill, are all on my main team. Megan, Ramagos, and Kali, all three of them are on my main comp that I use in ranked at the moment. They're ridiculously strong, and I don't see them as often on other people's team. I'm seeing a lot of, Jeans, Coombs. I'm seeing a lot of Lapises, Pernas, Rakans, over and over again, but I'm beating people with these teams, and you don't need to have those units. Like, these units that I've mentioned are really, really good. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my top 5, I think, underrated unit that are really strong. There's definitely underrated units, but they're underrated for a good reason, because they're not that strong. But these are the ones that I think are strong and more people should be using. So please check them out. Give them a try on your team comps. And if you like the video, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll be publishing a lot more content for Lost Centuria. And you can always follow me on Reddit. I'll be posting a lot of visual guides as well. Some of you might have come from Reddit, so you know my stuff on there. Anyway, so yeah, please leave a comment if you have any question, and hope I see you guys all around.